Welcome back to the Stan Simpson Show. We've been talking about the provocative education documentary, Waiting for Superman, and the reality that there is no superhero to save the day, but parents can play a big role. We're joined now by Molly Arcenegas, Hartford advocate, doing a lot of great things for teachers, empowering teachers. You're president of the Hartford Parents Council organization,
right,
and you're starting something called Parents University, which will launch next year, an initiative to empower parents. Tell us about Parents U.
Parents U is a way for parents to come in to the university and look at a catalog so that they can, based on their needs. So if they wanted to, for example, to see what are CMTs, they're able to take a course on it so that they can better advocate for their kids at school.
Biggest frustration for parents when you talk to them, what's your biggest frustration with the schools?
Right now, the teachers union. And I'm being frank.
Explain.
We've been talking about this for years. This is not a secret. It needs to be talked about where you have bad teachers in the classroom that are affecting our children. And there needs to be a solution for that. And it hasn't been dealt with for years. So we're taking a stand in Hartford, at least. I can't speak for any other cities, but we're going to take a stand and say no más, no more. We cannot continue to sit on the sidelines and watch our children end up in jail.
So what do you do? How do you get rid of that? How do you begin to empower the process to change that?
Well, first we're going to talk to our state legislators because the job is not done. Parent Trigger was one of the first things that we implemented as parents and we advocated for. So that's the first move that we made. But now, Waiting for Superman is out there. Parents are starting to understand, that this wasn't just out of a fault of their own, okay, as they try to make it seem that parents are not involved, and that is the reason why our children are not successful. We're going to focus on does tenureship drive student achievement? The answer is no. Okay. Does teacher seniority drive student achievement? The answer is no. So why do we have them?
Well, let's flip the script. We talk about bad teachers. What do you do about good teachers? There's a whole movement now to take test scores, look at teachers who are performing and reward them. Right now the mentality is to have every teacher be viewed the same. What happens when you have a great teacher? What can you do to reward that teacher?
I mean, you just talked about it. Millie hit the nail on the head when she said that the issue here is teachers' unions, that it's not teachers. We need teachers, and wonderful teachers are the most important factor in educating our kids to a high level. So we have to be getting behind and rallying behind great teachers. And the stance traditionally of the teachers' union, and particularly in Connecticut, has been that every teacher is treated exactly the same. So there is no way to isolate and identify those teachers who are great and reward them to continue to do a great job, to help them to become master teachers that then support other teachers who are coming in. We just have every teacher with no ability to move up. And so that's the problem. There is no incentive right now to stand out among your colleagues.
Now,
We've got to change that.
Now, Michael Sharp, you know how to get rid of bad teachers. With a charter school, you have the latitude to get rid of teachers who are not performing, and you have done so, correct?
That's true. But going to Danielle's point for just a second, one of the things that has to happen is the good teachers have to rally together and say, we don't want bad teachers in our midst. And because it's not helping us as great teachers.
How do you create that dynamic?
Well, I think it's happening. I think with the documentary, The Lottery, Waiting for Superman, and a lot of things that Bale's doing, and what you've done with organizing parents, they're starting to see that maybe we haven't been looking at this the right way through our unions. Maybe we need to look at this a little bit differently. And that little bit differently is saying, look, we want high-quality teachers because that advances our profession. Now, what I do at Jamoke Academy in terms of teachers, we have great teachers at Jamoke Academy. Always wasn't that way. Yes, I got rid of teachers, but I followed the law. I follow the regulations. You have to give notice in a certain way. I didn't just go out and just start firing people. We made sure that teachers had professional development, training, guidance, mentoring, and those kinds of things. So you have to have a process. And so we follow that process. But at the point that you don't show that you can teach my kids, you're not going to teach in my school.
Let's take a look at a quick clip for Waiting for Superman, and just we'll talk about that.
I don't know what college I want to go to, but I know I want to be a teacher. I want to be a nurse. I want to be a doctor.
How come?
Because I would like to help somebody in need.
All right, dreams, expectations. Big problem has been historically. How do you raise expectations from folks who just assume that in urban areas kids are poor, and so therefore maybe a C is okay for some of these kids? How do you change that, and how pervasive is that? Low expectations.
High expectations are one of the most important things that we can all share regardless of where we are. And there's actually extensive literature done that shows that when the expectations within the school are mirrored in the home and in the community, that kids do better just because of that alignment. So us all getting on board and understanding what we should be pushing our kids toward is fundamental. And that's why Bayo has put such an emphasis on our parent trainings. And I can see that I'm sure Millie would speak to this too, that often parents don't know better, so they can't do better. And if we don't understand what quality looks like, if we don't understand what success looks like, we need to be able to have real vocabulary to put to that if we're going to all get on the same page and hold our kids to higher expectations.
Do teachers really want parents in the classroom? Let's be honest. They mentioned we want parent involvement. Your experience, and be candid, do you find that teachers, for the most part, really want you there, or are you considered an intrusion?
I think there's a difference between parent involvement and parent engagement. We've already gotten to the parent engagement level, and they need to identify that we're going to ask the tough questions in those classrooms. We're going to ask about curriculum. We're going to ask about, what are the expectations in this classroom. Those are the questions that we're asking now, and they're not ready for that. So there is a drawback.
So you better get ready, you're saying, right?
Get ready.
All right, we're going to come back with more of the Stan Simpson Show. We're going to focus on solutions for eliminating the academic achievement gap in Connecticut. We'll talk about what happened at Jamoki, what is working, and why. Don't go away.